Hello, my friends. Today is Thursday. Welcome back and happy Thursday to you. You know who didn't have a happy Thursday, or actually happy Wednesday? It was the Slovak Prime Minister, a European Union country, a democratic country. The Slovak Prime Minister, leader of that country, was shot in the middle of daylight, broad daylight, in the middle of a crowd, surrounded by his security detail. He was shot. It was an assassination attempt. Now, we have information that he is right now in hospital with several bullet wounds. I myself counted 5 shots, and looking at the trajectory, I would say that about 3 of them potentially hit. So due to 3 bullet wounds in Slovak Prime Minister Fico. He is not anymore in a life-threatening situation, as the hospital reports. We don't know what's the current situation exactly with his health, but he's not going to die. That's how much I got out of the hospital today. My friends, for obvious reasons, I cannot show you the video, but there are videos of many angles of the exact moment of the shooting. All of the links are in the description below. You can go and check them out yourself, watch the whole footage, analyze it yourself. What really happened? Fico was walking on the street surrounded by 5 to 7 security detail, all dressed in black, looking very professional, but then suddenly out of a crowd walks close to Fico a regular man, about 2 meters from Fico. He pulls the gun, and across the barrier, just to people's, like these metal fences, across that he points the gun at Fico at 2 meters, shoots 2 bullets. Then the security detail grabs his arm, and then he's able to shoot 3 more. And I would say, according to my analysis, about the last 2 bullets missed. But even if the security detail grabbed his arm and weapon, I think 1 bullet still went towards Fico. So I'm not the one to blame anybody, since I don't have that kind of education or career behind me. But I would guess that this attack could have been eliminated sooner or eliminated at all. The reaction of the security detail took, I'm not even going to say seconds, I'm going to say shots. It took 2 shots before they grabbed the arm. And the 3rd shot still, according to what looked to me at least, went into the Prime Minister, who then fell down. The shooter was detained, and the Prime Minister was rushed to the car and then to the hospital immediately. Now, Slovak Prime Minister Fico, together with Hungary's Orban, are 2 of the European Union's prime ministers who are known for their verbally expressed pro-Russian views, conservative views, which are very similar to Russian propaganda talking points. Now, the main question is, why was this assassination made? Who did it? Well, my friends, the shooter has been detained. We know who he is, and I'll read you a very short, summarizing text about what we know about him. The shooter who made an attempt on Fico's life at the moment of his arrest. Slovak media reported that the attacker was former employee of a private security company and author of a poetry collection. That's always a bad sign. Juraj Cintula. This is reported by the local TV channel Markiza. In 2016, Cintula himself survived an assassination attempt when he was attacked in a shopping center in the town of Levice by a young man who was in an inebriated state. Cintula's son stated that his father had a gun permit and denied information that had emerged that Cintula was a patient of a psychiatric hospital. Cintula is now in custody, and his case is being handled by the National Criminal Agency of Slovakia. You can see the photos of the guy who was detained on the spot. There are now his connections emerging with, drumroll, the FSB. Of course, this is all rumors. There's no factual evidence as of yet, but let's go through them. Looks like Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico's reported assailant, writer Juraj Cintula, was associated with pro-Russian paramilitary group Slovenskí branky, SB. Their leader was even trained by Russian ex-Spetsnaz soldiers. So he has some connections in his past with the Russian FSB, Russian Spetsnaz and special operations. Now, this does not itself say anything. These early facts always come out with a huge information bubble. Everybody copies them, everybody talks about them, but there's no investigation going on yet. So, my friends, I advise you to take them as rumors. We don't yet know who did it, and after all, Fico was known for his pro-Russian views, so why would FS be behind it? Everything is possible at this point, and I'm not ruling out any. I'll keep you posted on this story. Very heavy investigations will start on this, so you'll get more information about it from my channel. My friends, yesterday I reported the Ukrainian strike against Belbek airbase in Crimea. Yesterday there was not much information about it out, but today there's more. And now we know that it was attacked not with Storm Shadow, but with ATACMS. And not only ATACMS, but 16 of them. That is the biggest, most grandiose use of ATACMS, long-range ATACMS that I've seen by the Ukrainian side. 16 per one target, a Belbek airbase. Well, I guess the Ukrainian intelligence found that there were plenty of Russian assets, airplanes clustered together into a tight space, and they struck it. And by the fact that the fires raged until morning, fires usually burn a few hours, then they burn out. If they burn longer than that, then something has to feed them for a lengthened period. And this could be the wreckage of the planes, ammunition, or jet fuel. Massive blaze at the Russian Belbek airfield in occupied Crimea after armed forces of Ukraine's ATACMS strike last night. Large secondary explosions are observed. Now, what does secondary explosions mean? We're so used to hearing, secondary explosions. It really indicates that ammunition was hit. Ammunition dump, ammunition warehouse, or ammunition on the planes. If they explode even hours later, that means it was a motherload of ammunition. It was a bullseye. And in this case, it was. And we have reports of what exactly was destroyed also, and we'll get to it. Last night, approximately 30 a.m. local time, the armed forces of Ukraine launched at least 16 ATACMS missiles, striking the Russian Belbek airbase just north of Sevastopol in occupied Crimea. NASA firm's thermal imagery shows that large fire is located on the tarmac at geolocation, and you can see the coordinates on the screen right here. You can go and check it out, which was based on satellite imagery from as recent as May 10th, 2024. On the May 10th image, according to that, there were many Russian Su-34s and Su-35s fighter bomber aircrafts parked right next to each other at the very location which later showed fire indicators according to NASA satellite imagery. So potentially many Russian planes struck. And here, my friends, we finally have photos of this attack. The result of the ATACMS strike against the airfield of Belbek was the radar units of one of the local S-400 air defense systems, which is supposed to protect the Russian base, has been eliminated. In the background, the TEL units can be seen. Now, that's not it. Now we have unconfirmed losses combined. 1 MiG-31 destroyed, 3 Su-27s damaged, and these were damaged by the sub-munitions, not the main blast, but the small cluster munitions. But for an airplane, I mean, every damage is vitally important since everything is so clustered together under that hood. A lot of wires, a lot of tubing, ammunition and fuel. Every small hole counts. And one S-300 and one S-400 radar air defense system. Also, 11 Russian soldiers lost their lives. And now I'll read you a report coming from Russian sources. Russian military correspondents write this in their Telegram channels. Bad news from Sevastopol. We have lost airplanes, air defense and military. As a result of shelling Sevastopol with ATACMS missiles, we have unfortunately suffered serious losses. The enemy hit the aircraft at Belbek airfield. 1 MiG-31 was lost, completely destroyed. 3 Su-27s were damaged. They were hit by submunitions from missiles. We are now finding out if they can be repaired. We hope so. 2 air defense launchers, S-300 and S-400, and radar were also lost. Unfortunately, 11 military personnel were killed. So this is a very juicy target and one of the biggest rear area attacks by Ukrainian armed forces. And that is not it. This is the top shop moment right now, because this attack carried on for tonight also. For the second night in a row, Ukrainians struck Belbek airbase. I guess they found out that after the first strike, Russians did not move their jets away. So there was another strike today. 2 strikes in the same location means it has to be a damn juicy target there. A lot of planes clustered together in a tight space. That's what it was. Tomorrow we'll find out more information about today's strike on the very same location. My friends, very interesting news comes from Anthony Blinken of the United States about the United States weaponry provided to Ukraine. Now, one of the biggest drawbacks or setbacks about the United States weaponry given to Ukraine is that they are not allowed to use them on Russian soil. That is what enabled, for example, the new Kharkiv offensive to happen, because Russians were gathering this 50,000 strong invasion army there for at least 2 to 3 weeks, and Ukrainians were not able to do anything against them with United States weaponry. But, for example, ATACMS cluster munitions would have made quick work of the troop gathering locations. They were not allowed to use them. And now, after the opening of the new front in Kharkiv by the Russians, Anthony Blinken comes out with a new interesting message. I'll read it to you and you can see it in the video also. It is a little bit of a word game here. Blinken's statements regarding the use of weapons provided by the United States for strike on territory of the Russian Federation. Let's see what he said. As I said, we are absolutely committed to the cause of Ukraine's victory in this war, for the sake of the people, for its future. We recognize this in our policy and emphasize that Ukraine should make the decision for itself. Make the decision, the context was that can Ukraine use the weapons provided by the US to attack targets on Russian soil? And this was Blinken's answer. They will make the decision. Ukraine will make the decision. So before, Blinken was very clear that United States weapons cannot be used on Russian soil. But now, after the opening of the new front and Ukrainian forces forced to retreat from northern Kharkiv Oblast, Blinken's messaging has changed. And if this really green lights the use of United States weaponry on Russian soil, this is very bad news for Russia, since Russia knows the limitations on these weapons and is not afraid to cluster thousands of their men together on Russian territory, because Ukraine does not really have enough weaponry to attack them, or the political, and is not permitted to attack them. But now this can change. This can change how Russia conducts their logistics on their side of the border, how they gather their men, how they move their ammunition and fuel. It changes a lot. And my friends, Blinken did a surprise visit to Kyiv. And in this video, we can see him playing guitar and singing in a Kyiv karaoke bar. Now, I gotta say, I'm quite impressed about the skills he has. He can play and he can sing. And he also reported in Kyiv about 2 billion military aid packet to Ukraine. But it's not what you think, because it's really not. I don't want to say this, but it's really not weaponry given to Ukraine. This 2 billion will be a separate fund created to fund Ukrainian military startups and Ukrainian military industrial complex. So to create new weapons and new production in Ukraine. That's what this 2 billion is for. It's great news. My friends, this next video might shock you, and of course, if the video is demonetized and we cannot show it, because I'm not sure yet, you can see it in the description below. But this is about the Russian meat conveyor, meat industry. You know, Russian meat assaults are sent. 200s are formed, meaning they lose their lives and are retired from this life. And some of these soldiers will be sent back to Russia. Most of them won't. Most of them will just push up sunflowers in the fields of Ukraine. But in this instance, we see on a video of a Russian semi-zero line or front line meat conveyor. The bodies that they do get back, they just put on wooden boxes. Couldn't call them coffins, they're more like packaging. In this wooden packaging and black bags, they send the bodies back to Russia. Usually they have to wait for quite a long time, and it's warm also. Then they have to fly on a plane, and since it's Russian bardak, which is like a word of nothing really working properly, they will have to wait on the Russian airfields also before they are buried in Russia or sent back to the villages wherever they came from. Meaning by the time these packaged Russian soldiers who no longer live reach their destinations, they don't smell that good. But yeah, you can see this is industrial level packaging of Russian meat. My friend, this next video, I don't even know if I can show it or if I can, but you can see it all in the description below. And if I can't, I will just describe it to you. This is a Russian highway on the Belgorod Oblast, and civilian cars are driving along it, and suddenly they have to stop because there's something on the road. That's something stopping these civilians from going to work, Russian civilians going to the Russian jobs in Belgorod, is a Russian grad system which decides right here on this highway is the place that I have to commit genocide. They're launching their rockets towards Ukraine, towards northern Kharkiv Oblast, right on the civilian highway. All of the civilians have to stop and watch their country commit genocide. A little morning genocide for them. My friends, I've now opened the topographic map for you, and if I zoom out, you can see the whole Kharkiv Oblast right here. And we zoom into the northern Kharkiv Oblast to see the topographic map, mountains and valleys, which is one of the most important things on the defense and on the offense. Ukrainians have positioned all of their defenses in the depths, about 5 kilometers from the border. This is how much Russians have advanced, about 5 kilometers. And as we can see, their main goal, Russia's main goal right now, Vovchansk, the city right here, the biggest city in the area. As you can see, it is in the valley. This is a mountain, this is a mountain. Russians occupying this area on a mountain, but the city is in the valley and Russians are trying to take it. Now, if they do take it, they are in a valley, in a city, surrounded by hills that are fortified with Ukrainian shooting positions. So Ukrainians have excellent firing positions into the settlement if Russians were to take it. And if they hold them, Russians will take massive losses in that settlement just by being there, because they're right on the palm of Ukrainian artillery. Now, this is not the only outcome. Other outcome is they take the city and push forward and actually take these Ukrainian fortifications on the high ground, these Ukrainian defensive lines on the hills. Now, if these are lost, it's very bad news for Ukraine, since Russians can push forward, now themselves occupying defensive positions on a high ground, which are also fortified. So the main defense from the northern Kharkiv Oblast and the main goal for the next few weeks for Ukraine is to stabilize the front and keep the fortifications on the high ground. Right now, this is so. Russians are attacking daily. Time will tell if they're able to push Ukrainians out of the hill fortifications, let's call it like that. In the past year, it was incredibly difficult for Ukraine to build out these defensive lines on the northern Kharkiv area. And still, we have videos right now showing where Russians advance. They see Ukrainian dragon's teeth, you know, the anti-tank obstacles, being clustered together in a mountain, in the piles. Why were they not deployed? There's a very sad story for this, because they were meant to be deployed on the defensive lines, but many times Ukrainians had this mission to deploy them. Russians methodically hunted down Ukrainian engineering equipment. Tractors, trailers, bigger engineering equipment you need to move heavy stuff on the front lines. These were destroyed one by Russians with the drones, and also the crews were killed. So Ukrainians simply were not able to deploy the dragon's teeth to the right positions. So they settled with fortified bunkers built, but the dragon's teeth were not deployed. And this has caused heavy drama on Ukrainian media, since Russians are advancing and seeing just piles of dragon's teeth not used. So Ukrainians are asking questions like, why are they not deployed? Well, this is the answer. They were many times, the order was given many times, but simple as that, Russians hunted down the engineering equipment. My friends, on these photos, you can see the yacht of the Russian oligarch Medvedchuk. Medvedchuk was actually arrested by Ukrainian SBU over a year ago, but then he was exchanged back to Russia for some Azov-style officers to go back to Ukraine. So now he's alive and well and working for the Russians and spreading propaganda in Ukraine with his crews, sometimes working on the ground to influence Ukrainian population, especially the older population, the two pro-Russian views. Now, his yacht was in Croatia. This is not just a yacht. This is a $220 million worth of yacht. It is one of the more expensive yachts in the world. I'm not saying the most expensive, just saying it's up there. And this yacht is being detained by the Croats. And now, Ukrainian and Croats working together have finalized the process of confiscating this Medvedchuk $220 million yacht. And they will auction this off. And the money will be used, drum roll, to buy weapons for Ukraine. Yes, this is beautiful. I love it. And I wish European Union and United States and Canada would follow down in a similar path, confiscating the hell out of Russian oligarchs' properties, auctioning them off, and buying weapons for Ukraine. My friends, now a proud moment for me. This is Estonian Foreign Minister Margus Tsahkna in Georgia, walking with the people, walking with the protesters, with the people who share the pro-European mindset, who share the democratic mindset, fighting back under the pro-Russian government who has been paid by the Kremlin and the pro-Russian oligarch who leads the whole country like a shadow leader. And with the Estonian foreign minister, also Latvian, Lithuanian and Icelandic foreign ministers walk in unison, walk together side by side with the people against Putin's cronies who were all black and beat up the protesters. They tortured them and they threatened their families also. I'm proud that my country is represented by such brave men like Margus Tsahkna. Also, he just came yesterday to REHI Podcast. Yes, foreign minister came to my studio and we made a whole hour-long podcast. He will be published on REHI Podcast YouTube channel next Monday, coming Monday on noon Estonia time. Link is in the description below. Go and subscribe to be notified when it comes out. But my friends, I'll read you a very short summary about the whole situation in Georgia and what's the future outlook. It's not looking good. On May 14th, the Georgian authorities passed the third and final reading of the scandalous bill on transparency of foreign influence, a law on foreign agents copied from the Russian one. It's the Russian law. It pretty much gives the Georgian pro-Russian government means to use any kind of force on people who have even slightest pro-European mindset. They can jail them, they can take away their money or businesses, confiscate property. It gives Russia, in the long term, full control over the country. The saga with the adoption of the Russian law is not over yet, as President Salome Zurabishvili promised to veto it. However, for the Georgian authorities, overcoming the presidential veto is a formality. A second vote by the majority is enough. So, if the president vetoes it, he promised to do so, then the parliament has the right to vote on it again and then it passes anyway. So, unfortunately, the pro-Russian government has all of the power to pass this law. The Georgian people can potentially stop the pro-Russian government. Protests in the capital of Georgia will continue because the majority of their participants, mostly young people, see the loss of their future and their country's future. The foreign agents law requires you to declare yourself a foreign agent if you have any kind of connection with the European Union or the Western world. For example, if you're a YouTuber and get paid by Google, you're a foreign agent. For example, if you have an online shop and you sell your grandmother's handmade Georgian jewelry to European Union customers, you're a foreign agent. What does it allow the government to do to you? They can confiscate your money, your company, and they can actually arrest you and detain you. So this law gives pro-Russian government and their cronies power over the people. This law will enslave Georgian people. Georgian authorities' action put the country's European future in question. The Georgian government, however, says it is not afraid of possible sanctions. Well, of course, the government is fully pro-Russia and they get their money through Russia also. Is the goal of the protesters achievable? Parliamentary elections in Georgia are to be held in October 2024. The Georgian constitution directly prohibits the dissolution of parliament and the appointment of snap elections right before next elections, so this date will not change. In October, there will be democratic elections in Georgia, but the thing is, if this law is passed now and there are 4 months to go to the elections, then all of the so-called foreign agents will be, let's be honest, purged out by the pro-Russian government, so they cannot vote. So the elections are just a formality because all of the EU mindset people are declared as dissidents and public enemies, and they really cannot turn out to the elections. The window of opportunity for Georgian people is now. It's not tomorrow, it's not a few months, it's now, it's today. I believe in the will of the Georgian people and their European mindset, and I stand behind it like my country's foreign minister Margus Tsahkna, and I wish, if you're from Georgia, I wish you luck, I wish you strength. Take the bastards down. My friends, this news comes from 3rd Assault Brigade, and you guys have given many trucks to them through my fundraisers actually. I think it's over 5 trucks that you've given. They report that captured Moscow boys or captured Russians, POWs, say that they're fed pills by their superiors before they go to meat assaults, before they're sent or forced to meat assaults. And these pills inhibit any sense of danger and risk, and there are possibly also painkillers in them. So you get these mindless zombies who don't feel pain because of chemistry in their blood, and it also lessens the self-control factor of the frontal cortex. So they just go, they're drugged. And when they get sober, they give themselves as prisoners because they don't want to die, and then they tell these stories to the 3rd Assault Brigade, for example. So Russia uses human wave tactics. We saw how they process their meat after the meat has expired and they send it back in wooden packaging. Well, before the meat expires, they feed chemistry to it. That's the Russian style of warfare. My friends, now Thursday's names from Buy Me a Coffee monthly members. I am able to do what I do and also travel to Ukraine and help them thanks to Buy Me a Coffee monthly members because they give me the foundation, the security to not worry about financing but worry about Ukrainian victory and now also Georgian people's victory. So I'll butcher you 10 names who have helped me. Bjorn, Juhni Jot Jones Jotter, Graham Tom, Greg, David Purgescu, Jonathan, Radvals, EV, Paul Workman, JB. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to each and every one of you supporters. And if you like my channel, become a monthly member and I'll be butchering your name to oblivion. Until my next video, my friends, which will be on Monday because tomorrow I'm going on a bike ride. Not just a bike ride, I'm going to a 250-kilometer bike hike. 250 kilometers was like 180 miles, something like that. So I haven't rode a bike in like 2 years and I'm doing this now. So wish me luck. Sorry for not doing a video tomorrow, but I'm getting fat. I'm getting bald and fat, so I gotta go and ride my bike. Not a joke, actually doing this. So I'll see you guys on Monday. Until then, Slava Ukraini and bye-bye.